Hey folks, welcome to MLR Kickoff. We have an absolute monster show coming up for you. We will dive into the playoff race, which is coming up. It's getting to the pointy end of the season here. We'll have special guests from the number one team on the East, the New England Free Jacks, the number one team on the West, the Austin Gilgronis. They will join us shortly to talk about their season so far and what lies ahead for both their teams. Plus, as always, the professor. He slides in from the lab, fresh. What have you been doing in the lab lately, Pete? I haven't seen you in a while. Everything's good? What are you concocting?
I've been thinking off the field, right? So where I've been spending some time is thinking about sponsorship and how rugby can provide value to a sponsor when it doesn't have great exposure.
Yeah.
So that's been like, so, one of the things that there's a big push with my clients from my consulting business is there's a big push, in diversity, right? It's a big push for recruiting, and rugby is pretty diverse. And so is there ways to be able to leverage rugby for a source of talent for companies and using that as a way of providing value on a sponsorship? Because Major League Rugby does a good job with some of their big sponsors, right? And, but it's hard to get someone that doesn't have a connection to see the value. 2031 makes a difference, right? 2031, you can paint a picture that says 9 years from now, this will be good. The
world will be watching.
Yeah. Like pay more now, you won't get as much, but let's make it a long-term deal, really become a rugby sponsor. And as we get towards 2031, you'll be like getting it back 2 or 3 times. So the off-field stuff is where I've been spending some of my time thinking. I did get a chance to watch some of the games this past weekend. I actually like the late night games. Like for me, it's great. The kids are asleep. Can watch the late games if I can stay up. So got a chance to watch some games, some really, really interesting games. I thought this past weekend.
The late one on Mother's Day got me, the Seattle-Dallas game. I totally forgot there was a game on. No, so again, text messages, this is a bloodbath. And I'm like, what's going on?
I started watching that and I was like, oh, I probably don't need to stay up late for this one. But I mean, let's just talk about how good Weekhart Hadding is this season. I mean, that guy is just dominating the league. So he's my player of the season. I mean, I think maybe Seattle need to make it into the playoffs, but man, that West Coast is nuts, right?
Oh, it is nuts. Yeah, big Weekhart. It just he's really he's chosen his times to really inject himself into the games this year, and it's made a difference. Seattle, they went through that little patch in the middle. But you know what? They've kind of found their mojo again, and they're peaking at the right time. But as are the Houston SaberCats on the West as well, and I think it'll come down to those two for that third spot. Pete?
Oh, I think that's right. I mean, the SaberCats looked really good in their game against San Diego. I was impressed with them. I've had my doubts. I'm not sure that they play at the speed of some of the top teams. I think they play a little bit more deliberately, but if you don't match their physicality, then it's like it's hard to play with them. And I was really, really impressed with their play.
I think their style actually suits finals rugby though, like that attrition.
It might do, right? No, you're right. Where it's got to get there. Physical defense, you've got to get over the line, score those points. I completely agree with you. So they might be, if they get into that third spot, whoever's second, which is now really open, right? Because, well, I mean, we'll get onto this a little bit later, but whoever plays them, because I don't think the SaberCats are going to be playing at home, but I don't think either Austin or LA want to be second. Right, the Seawolves are still in it, right? So they've got more than a game. It's going to be hard. I mean, I think it's Austin or LA that are 1 or 2, right? That's what it looks like. So if Houston third, not only do you not want to play Houston because they play finals rugby, but they're also a real physical team while the other team is getting a week off, right? So your ability to turn around after that physicality is going to be hard.
Yeah, it's going to, and there's no really easy games coming in. So if you look at like that the last round of the regular season. San Diego has a bye, so probably doesn't bode well for them getting into the playoffs, sitting at home and kind of watching what everyone else does. Houston play against Austin and Seattle play against LA. So all 4 playoff teams play each other in the last week. So who knows? That's going to make for a great final week if the West Coast.
It's almost like a play-in weekend, right?
Pretty much. So, they always talk about that extra week. The NFL wanted to go to 17 weeks forever and the extra week of the playoffs. And here we go. George Killebrew, genius. He did it without even meaning to do it. So what was your game of the weekend? Which one did you like the most? We kind of touched on 2 of them, but
yeah, I mean, I actually really liked the Utah Atlanta game. I thought that was a really interesting game. But my deep dive of the game of the week has to be the Giltinis versus the Gilgronis. Because I thought 10-8. Such an interesting game, right? Such an interesting game. And it was interesting because I think the Giltinis showed something that they hadn't showed yet, which is a physicality, right? When you're playing up against a team that scores lots of points, like the Gilgronis, you've got to be physical with them. And the Giltinis were that. They were physical at the breakdown. They never let them win an easy ruck. I mean, they made, it was 224 total tackles, right? At an 88%, which is amazing. But when you look at that tackle total, Dan, the only way you get to that tackle total is because the opposition has to pick and go 10, 15 times every time they get near the line, right? That's how you get to 224 tackles. It's not that open game. And so the Giltinis, who we've seen as this stardust LA Hollywood team, showed me in the scrum they were really strong, right? They were physical in defense, and they were really physical in the contact. And as a sort of slightly undersized scrum half that like to play in space, as a coach, I've realized that the game is won in the contact.
Little throwback to the tough and gritty LA Raiders back in the day.
Yeah. There was one watch out for me for the Giltinis, which is they still haven't solved their line out. Right? They had 12 line outs and they lost 5. And that's a problem because last year their line out was such a strength. And they've got some real problems. If they had won their line out, they would have actually been further ahead. But that's a watch out. And I think the Gilgronis have a very good defensive line out, so that's fair. But that's a problem the Giltinis have had all season that they're going to have to fix if they want to make it back to the championship.
Yeah, they're going to be there. It's going to be close. Again, I think for them being number 1, that extra week off, that they're some more senior players, I'll probably appreciate that time off. But it will be interesting. Well, let's welcome in our guest for tonight, because one of them played against LA and one of them hopes to be playing against LA or Austin at the end of the year in the championship, or someone else. Shouldn't just start saying those two, but very fortunate to welcome in from the New England Free Jacks, Beaudein Waaka, my early vote for MVP, and then the MVP of my heart, it is Mark O'Keefe. Also from AG Rugby out on the West Coast. Let's get him in now, Pete, and have a quick chat. All right, joining us now, it's 1v1, East versus West. We've got Biggie Smalls from the East Coast, Beaudein Waaka, Tupac Shakur from the West Coast, Cowboy, Mark O'Keefe. Boys, thanks for joining the show. Been a good year. I'll start with you, Bodie. What a year you're having, mate. You're in fine form out there for the Free Jacks, sitting on top of the table, not only the East, but the entire league. How's the season been? You're healthy and you're firing.
Yeah, the season's been a pretty good year for us boys this year. As I always say, every year we're just getting better and better. So credit to our management that's brought in decent boys and good coaching staff to get us where we are today.
And you, Mark, obviously a change of scenery for you out in Austin this year with the Gilgronis, AGs. On top of the table still, even after the game on the weekend against the brothers, now stepbrothers, right? New parents maybe coming in. So little Will Farrell, John C. Reilly going on. But how's the season been out there, and how are the team looking going into the playoffs?
Yeah, it's good. Loving it, to be honest, down here. Obviously had a really good year in Atlanta last year, but just loving life in Texas. It's a bit hotter. It's 100 degrees here today, so yeah, I'm definitely gonna need a bit of sun cream. But yeah, we have a week off now. We just played LA obviously on the weekend, so we have a week off to recuperate and kind of unwind from rugby a little bit, because it's been it's a long off season, so it's nice to get a bit of a break. So
I can't think of two more similar places to Dublin in America than Atlanta and Texas. Like you just picked accommodating weather there, huh?
Yeah, definitely. It's very different. There's no jackets in Texas.
All right, Beaudein, let's go back to you, mate. Big game coming up, right? You guys are on, what, 9 games in a row now? Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Franchise record, league record, in form. What are your thoughts coming into this one this weekend, which technically, I believe you guys lock up a playoff, but this will lock up a top seed in a home semi-final or championship. What's the last game before the championship? The preliminary final? I don't know. We haven't got a name for it yet.
Final. It's a conference final.
Conference final. USA. There was a question in there, Beaudein. Sorry, mate.
No, you're good. Yeah, no, we got Atlanta this weekend. It's obviously going to be a tough one. They'll be hurting after the weekend just gone, going down to Utah. But we're prepared. We're ready. We just had our first training day today. I obviously didn't take part. Picked up a little ankle injury over the weekend, but nothing serious, hopefully. Hopefully get back out there running on Wednesday. I think we got a day off tomorrow. But we're ready. We're ready for the Atlanta boys to come over. Hopefully we put on some good weather though, because Boston is pretty shocking. I'd rather be with Markers at the moment over in Austin. You boys are getting all that good weather.
Yeah, it's not bad.
We're looking forward to it. We're prepping really well. We're trying to not peak too early, as I say, but yeah, we're up for the challenge. We know what Atlanta brings. They bring that physicality up front, so hopefully our big boys up front are prepared for a big battle this Friday night.
We'll have to get TK Miyagi to do a little magic on the ankle for you to get you ready for this weekend, huh? Cowboy. Oh, sorry, mate. Go.
Paula Balikana, get me to Fiji, get me some of that magic stuff they use for Waisaki Nahulu on the World Cup year. So
that dirty water, I love it. Just pass it around, good to go. All right, Cowboy, you got a bye week. I'm terrified to ask what you're going to get up to for the bye week. Our previous conversation got you in a little trouble with the coaching staff, so we're going full PG tonight, mate. Don't worry, it's going to be good. Obviously, a bye week, you guys get to regroup after that game against LA. Always a physical game. You think this bye is at a perfect time for Austin for this run into the finals? It's been a pretty long season.
Yeah, no, I think it's ended it's come at a good time. Obviously, we would have liked to got the win on the weekend. It would have really kind of not secured, but really almost cemented that number one spot. It just would have been a knife in the chest of LA. But we're still first. We're 6 points ahead of them. And yeah, the way it works, obviously having a bye and then we have 3 regular season games left, and then hopefully 4 and 5, please God. It's actually quite funny. I was talking to Connor Keys from Atlanta, and it was this schedule this year for Austin is the exact same schedule Atlanta had last year. So interesting.
Well versed, man of experience. Yeah. How is Connor? Did he say anything disparaging about the Free Jacks this weekend?
No, actually, it was last week. Actually, I was talking to him, so he was talking to me just really about Utah and stuff. And yeah, he's good, doing well. But I'm looking forward to this week off now. I'm heading up to New York tomorrow morning. So,
shoot up to Quincy for the game. Watch the Free Jacks in Atlanta, do a bit of scouting, maybe for the championship. Let's talk a little conferences here. Beaudein, first with you, mate. Who's been the biggest rival in the East Coast for the Free Jacks this year? Who's been the toughest game for you guys?
I'm going to have to go with our brothers down south, New York. There's always that rivalry between New York and Boston, no matter what sport it is. So they've been at our toes, really making us work hard. And we play them 3 times. We're 2 up on them at the moment, but I know they're going to come to us our last regular season game, and they're going to be coming out firing. So enjoy the rivalry between us and New York, and they're always big, hard, physical games.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, a lot of history there too, which kind of adds. So I love that you guys have embraced that rivalry and carried it over into MLR. What about you, Cowboy? The low-hanging fruit's obviously LA here, but anything different from your side?
To be honest, yeah, I would say it is LA really, but it's like a very big competition between us. But then also we can enjoy ourselves. Like when we played them in Austin, we all went out after, and then last night we had a couple of drinks after with all the team, and like it's just kind of like the coaches get along really well with each other, and the players get along really well with each other. So it's a massive rivalry on the field, but it's good. It's good banter off the field as well, so it's not too bad.
So when Gilly sells, you guys are all going to LA, one super club?
No, I don't think so. Austin, true and true.
All right. There is a distinct possibility that you two will be playing each other in the championship, both number one seeds. You've played earlier in the season. Now, it was in Austin and New England got the win that day. What are you expecting if you're running each other in the championship? Beaudein, we'll start with you, mate.
What am I expecting? Expecting a lot of things. Austin's obviously a quality side that can pull anything out of their ass. So, obviously, physical boys again. Our boys were hurting after we played them last time, physicality-wise. But they got some silky backs as well. Like there's Mark over there. He can just catch a boy out of nowhere and he's just dotting it down under the post. So, yeah, physical up front and silky backs out wide, out the back. So, yeah, it'll be a tough one.
Cowboy, I've seen you pull a lot of things out of your ass, but never on a rugby field. Any response to that? Oh, I'm sorry. I promised you I was going to keep it PG. I just can't help myself. Apologies,
kill me,
Sam.
Here we go. No, yeah, obviously when we played Boston at home, we lost. It was actually, I said to Mark Gerard, our backs coach, at half time actually, and after the game, it was probably the first time of the year where I was like chasing shadows for a couple of times defending. They have a pretty good backline between Wax himself and like Dougie Fife and stuff, and the two centres they brought in, like they just seem to do really well this year, and they're just well knitted. And yeah, obviously it's going to be a pretty physical battle if we see them in the final again with the forwards, but also two backlines just going hell for leather at each other. So yeah, it should, please God, we're both there and should be a good final.
Wax, what do you put down your form this year? Like, I think a lot of people forget you were coming off a really serious knee injury last year. I don't know if you came back early from it, but your leg was taped pretty heavily most of 2021. You've come out this year in 10, not 15. Did the transition help you play? Do you like being 10? Do you see yourself as a 10? And I've honestly, mate, like it's been so impressive to watch you play this year. I'm not going to turn this into the glorification of Beaudein Waaka. I mean, you do enough of that in the field. But what do you put down to the form this year coming into the season?
I guess I just found the love for the position again. So I grew up as a 10 through high school. When I first signed my first footy contract over in New Zealand, I was a 10 right through and through until I ended up jumping on the 7 circuit. And then when I made the transition back to 15s, they were like, oh, let's just put you out at fullback wing, try and use your agility and speed out there. And so I kind of had no love for the position after that. But coming back this year, meeting the new coach, he pretty much rang me and said, you're going to be number 10 this year. So I had to kind of regather my thoughts how to play 10 again. So I had to watch old games, not of just myself, but people I idolised. Obviously, the Kiwi first fives like Daniel Carter and all those guys. So I had to kind of familiarise myself with the position again. And I don't know, I guess I put it back to our team that's really probably making me look good. But, yeah, we've got a pretty decent side. We've got a good forward pack that, when they give us good front ball, us backs try and do our thing. And then again, we've got good backs that I can just distribute to, and they just start using their twinkle toes and start dancing on the field. So I'd probably say I'll credit the boys for the way I'm playing this season.
Full credit to the boys, always. What about you, Cowboy? You third team in 3 years, but you're having probably your best year of Major League Rugby. You look like you put on a bit of weight. coaching staff seems to have really embraced your personality and let you be you on the field this year, and it seems to be reaping huge rewards. Is that a fair assessment for you and Austin?
Yeah, to be honest, I was even talking to the coaches yesterday about it. Like, I think being happy on the field and off the field has really helped me with my game. Like, I'm loving life down here, and you kind of just, because the coaches are so open with everything, like you feel a sense of like, yes, they're your coach, and like they let you listen to them, but they're also able to listen to you. And like, if you have an insight of how to play or something, I don't really have that many. Just put my hand up there, but they'll listen to you and they'll like try and work the game. They pick the team to like, they want me to be good at, they're really good at 2 things rather than be good at 5 things, which is kind of helps me, I think, in my game. They want me to be the best I can be at 1 or 2 things, and then use those things instead of trying to be good at 6 or 7 things and then brain in the game. So I love it down here, to be honest. I can't fault this place, and the coaching staff like Sam and G and B and everyone are just making it so easy. And like, yeah, it's great. And hopefully keep going this year, and please God next year as well.
Oh, win it all. I love it. You two actually could be running into each other in a couple of weeks for that one. I'll let you go. Obviously getting late on the East Coast for you, Wok, so you get some sleep, get that ankle fixed up. Tell TK I said hello. And for you, Cowboy, enjoy the bye week. Keep it as PG or off Instagram if you can't keep it PG. And we'll hopefully catch up with you guys again leading into the playoffs.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Gents, fair play to you.
There you go. It's hard to find 2 guys that are having better years on the field than those 2 right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and we heard Beaudein talk about like he's really like naturally a 10, but came to Major League Rugby as a 15. And when I think it was the injury to Harrison Boyle, where they're like, well, let's put him at 10, and then they haven't lost him. And what's really interesting about how the Free Jacks play is they really only give Waaka the ball when he's got an opportunity. They really pound their forwards, right? If you look at the numbers, John Poland has tons of passes, but the fly half, Beaudein Waaka, doesn't have a lot of touches. And that's because his passes are hitting the forwards. And they've got a really great structure. There's multiple forwards that they can hit. And I think that's like, that really is allowing Beaudein Waaka to really express himself, because it means when he gets the ball, there's space, whether it's with his foot or whether it's his run. He runs a lot. Right, he probably is the most running 10 in the league right now. If you look at his numbers, he ends up taking a lot of contact. Almost about half the time he'll actually run the ball and take the contact. So that's really interesting. And Mark O'Keefe, I mean, this is a guy that you feel like got went to New York, maybe thinking he was a backup, ended up starting, went to ATL, maybe as a backup. I mean, now had the injury, right? And that opened up the door for him last year, had a great season, went to Austin, having another great season. I mean, he is just someone, he is, and I mean this in a good way, he's a very simple player. Like, he does the basics of the game very well. And that in Major League Rugby is a big win, right? Like, he runs hard, he can tackle in the outside channel, he makes the pass when it's available, and he just does those things well. And, Austin, he's fitting into Austin so well. And obviously he loves it down there.
Yeah, it looks like they've got a good culture down there for sure. The guys seem to be having a lot of fun on and off the field. Do you know, it's funny, I put those 2 guys up pretty hy. Third guy, Lance Williams. How good of a season is he having? I'm going to jump on the soapbox here a little bit, but how is that guy not getting picked for the USA team?
Yeah.
Seriously. How is that? How I'm like, so, and I've heard rumors starting now that Manu Samoa are starting to look at him because there is eligibility through his parents, and they're like, this guy's killing it over in MLR, and there could be an opportunity to get him captured for Samoa, and we lose probably one of our most dynamic and damaging ball runners, high energy players. I don't understand it. I don't get why he hasn't played yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. What I'll say is that what Gary Gold does is Gary Gold absolutely uses the stats. And so he is definitely a he's looking at the stats. So we see Lance Williams doing a bunch of really good stuff, right? But maybe he's not doing some of the things like you remember when Andrew Guerra was picked up by the Eagles, and he was having a pretty decent season. But when you looked at the stats, you saw all the work he did at the breakdown, which you don't see, right? And that's how Gary Gold ended up seeing him and looking at him. I don't think Gary Gold sort of when you're a coach, I always talk about there's sort of like the coach's eye, and then there's the data, right? And so what you want is you'll always use your coach's eye, but that you always test it with the data. And so Andrew Guerra is one of those players that you look in the coach's eye and say he's a good player, but then when you look at the data, you're like, his work rate is phenomenal, right? Like he's around the breakdown more than anyone else. Nate Brakeley's a little bit of one of those players, right? Like he's one of those guys who doesn't run the ball very much, but his work rate is so high. So I haven't done this, but maybe I'll, for the next show, I'll do a deep dive into Lance Williams and see what he does without the ball. Because with the ball, he's one of the most dynamic players in the league.
Well, it's going to be interesting with what happens against Chile, because Data didn't get past Uruguay. So if Data doesn't get past Chile, then we might be going back to coach's eyes. Could be. I don't know. I just feel as though you've got to give the guy a shot.
Well, I mean, athletically, when you're a coach, you look at that and you say, "There's a guy that's got a motor. He's athletically he's not physically dominant." I mean, it has to be said that you might look and you might say, well, when you look at the back row, you look at complementary players, right? And so you might say, well, who's Lance Williams play like? And he probably does play a little bit like Ricard Hadding, right? Like he's a physical player. You can play a little wider. And so it may end up being a balance issue, but I'm with you, Dan. I'm surprised he hasn't even had a look, right? He hasn't had an invite. I think they recently had like a 1-day kind of orientation camp, just getting people onboarded with what the plan is. And so, surprised that he's not even getting an invite to those things, because he's having a great season. And his game last weekend was great. And a shout out to Brandon Sparks, who has stepped in as the head coach, someone I know pretty well, and congrats to him on his first win in what will probably be his only season of coaching MLR if he gets his way. The general manager. So
I don't know. I just look at who he is as a human being as well, and thinking the culture of a team.
Yeah, it'd
be a good fit. Anyway, I digress. Let's jump into the games this weekend. And my prayers have been answered. I prayed to the Aaron Castro gods. I said, give me Friday night footy back. And he not only gave it back, he gave me one of the games of the round. ATL at New England, Friday, 7 p.m. in Quincy.
So hot. So hot.
It's like Hansel. So hot right now. There you go, pop culture reference. If anyone can message Pete during the week and let him know what movie that's from, you will win a prize. I won't tell you what it is, but it'll come from Pete, and it'll be great. Who do you like in this one?
Well, I think like Dan, you know how we normally do a deep dive. I think there's too many games for us to this deserves a deep dive, but I think there are some other games that deserve a little bit of a deep dive. So this game is really interesting. So one of the things that I saw, it was interesting. ATL selected down a little bit against Utah. They rested some players, or they rotated players, and they put them on the bench. And I think what's interesting is that teams always end up taking on the characteristics of their coach, right? And what's important for their coach. So Steve Brett, attacking coach. ATL are definitely a better attacking side than they were last year. But last year they were a physically dominant defense, and we're not seeing that this year. They've lost a little bit of that physicality that Scott Lawrence had, because that was Scott's characteristic, right? That was his big focus. So it was interesting to me. We didn't see as many double tackles, and I think, not sure if that was part of the rotation, but that would be a concern if I was ATL, that if there were players that are starting that don't know our systems. So to me, that's the really interesting thing here. Has ATL lost that edge? And for the Free Jacks, the question is, can Beaudein Waaka go? Is he able to play? They twisted his ankle, came off. Sounds like it's not too bad, but you know what twisted ankles are? They can just last a while. And so can he play and will he be 100%? So I'm going to go with the Free Jacks. I'm going to go with the hot hand here. I think like rotating, not having a good game, having that traveling again, I think all of that stuff makes it hard. So I'm going to go with the Free Jacks because I think that I want to see ATL step up and be more physical as a team before I'm going to jump back on their bandwagon.
Yeah, it's been an interesting little dip in form for them because they look really good, for most of the year, and I think they'll find it back. I'm just trying to pull up here. So if you are Scott Matthew in the Free Jacks and Beaudein Waaka isn't 100% to go, do you rest him knowing that you now play Toronto, NOLA, and then New York in the last? So you probably you'd think Toronto and NOLA.
Well, you've got a 10-point cushion, right? So you've got a 10-point cushion.
And you've got Toronto and NOLA that you realistically should have locked.
Right. So I would go with that. The only thing that I would say is that and this is sort of like one of these weird things. There's all these statements that like, oh, you can't beat a team 3 times in a season, right? Which is like completely like retrospective. But you also don't want to get rolled, right? So you're on a run. Like this is the sort of game that I would put Beaudein Waaka on the bench and be like, if we don't have to play you, we won't play you.
Yeah, but I don't know. Then you're taking someone else off the bench that probably needs the minutes coming into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a great position to be in. There's no right or wrong decision here, but that 10-point cushion gives the Free Jacks more flexibility. I mean, like as a coach, you actually this ends up being a medical decision. Right, it ends up being, can he play?
Yeah.
And if the answer, if he can play, you're probably going to play him. Like it's a sprained ankle, right?
Do you remember
if I'm New England, I might say, you know what, let's win this game and then rest him for the next 2.
I get what you're saying, but if he carries an injury in there, then who knows? Do you remember in Friday Night Lights when the guy couldn't find his helmet and Beaudein Miles went back in, did his knee, lost him for the year? He's having a Beaudein Miles-esque season. You don't want to do it. I don't know. I would err on the side of caution because he is such an influential player.
Yeah. Well, they still got Harrison Boyle, right? Who was their starting 10. That they've got him. So he just plays a different game.
Yeah, and who knows? We'll find out Friday night. But I'm going to go New England just because 9 in a row, they're the hot hand. But yeah, this would be a roster decision. All right, Saturday, Dallas at Toronto, 7 p.m. That's 24 hours in between games. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. Oh, well, I'll survive. And all day Saturday. Aaron, I'm going to have to do landscaping and stuff Saturday because there's no games to keep me occupied. Okay. So hot here now.
Are Toronto out of it?
No, mathematically they're not. Emotionally, probably. They're 11 points back from 4th right now, 12 points back from 3rd. But if you look at their run in, let's see, Toronto, they go Dallas. Yeah, let's say the maximum points here. Then they play New England, Atlanta. So 2 teams in contention.
Right, I mean,
glory to end.
Points off them, right? Like they're not just 2 teams in contention, they're 2 teams that they're chasing. And that's why I'm not sure that they're out of it, right? So let's say Atlanta lose to New England and Toronto beat Atlanta.
I'd say Atlanta's in jeopardy. New York probably not. And New York play Atlanta next week. So that could be Toronto's.
Whoever loses that game,
yeah,
right? Whoever loses that game, Toronto can be like, hey, the fate is almost in our hands if we beat the team that loses that game next weekend.
Mm-hmm. Well, Atlanta finished with NOLA and Toronto finished with Old Glory. So 2 teams that are out of the playoffs. If you are gauging just their current form, you'd rather be playing NOLA than Old Glory right now. But Old Glory kind of banged up and suspensions and stuff like that. So who knows? Good problems to have. All right. Speaking of Old Glory, no, did we do Dallas? Yeah, everyone's going.
I think Toronto wins.
Yeah. Poor Dallas, 74-7. I was like, well, have you ever been on a shellacking like that?
Yeah, as a player and a coach.
I've never been on the wrong side of a scoreline like that.
Yep. I lost as a coach. It was something like 94-0 or 96-0 when I was coaching the USA Hawks versus Canada West. And, it was the first round of the NA4, and we didn't have any players that were in the Super League final.
Gotcha.
So our roster was like a bunch of college kids, and like they had a bunch of guys that play in BC.
Yeah.
And pretty certain the referee called it early, so they didn't score 100 on us.
Yes, thank you very much. So one of those ones you turn up to practice on Monday and you're like, hey, take your usual position on the field, and they all stand behind the post waiting for a conversion. You're like, oh, we suck. Oh, well, sorry, Pete.
Hey, we won our next game. So that's probably like 3 of the best days coaching I've ever had. Like 3 days, turned it around. I mean, we've got our Super League players that helped, but we beat the USA Falcons in the next game. So
did anyone from the 96-0 shellacking go on and do anything?
I think Scott Lawrence was in that game.
Oh, the Minister of Defence, and he can't even stop 96 points against a Canadian team. What a joke. Really, poor Scott.
Poor Scott.
Who else?
Oh, I mean, there were some Eagles.
In the 96 drubbing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about who was that, because it was hard because that roster switched, so I'm not sure who played in that game.
Erased it.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure Stats Boy could Wikipedia it if he wasn't great.
But we're in the middle of the freaking trade deadline.
Trade deadline. When does it close? Midnight?
Yeah, probably midnight. Let's leave the 96 in the cemetery where it belongs.
Thank you. Yeah, let's stop talking about it, Dan, please.
All right, Old Glory at NOLA. This one Saturday night as well, 8 p.m. down at the Gold Mine. What do you think here?
Man, that second half that NOLA had against New York, I'm like, this is the team that you see. This is the team that can play. But I mean, I actually like. And Old Glory have been playing well. I mean, they scored late to make it a little bit closer than it was last weekend, right? I mean, it wasn't actually as close as the score suggested, but Old Glory are playing well. I think, and it's Nate Osborne returning to his original team.
It sure is. It's one of those awkward moments where you walk into the stadium and you turn left instead of right. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, not my locker room. I mean, this is a bit of a roster. I know Fernando Schultz is out, right? Suspended. He was really important. I think I'm going to go with NOLA here. I think that they've shown a little bit of spark. A couple of those players. I think Feeks and Elof coming back from long-term injuries. I think they're knocking the dust off. So I'm going to go with NOLA Gold.
Feeks, he's looking sharp, mate. He's having a good finish to the year. He's looking good. Yeah. NOLA down there on a Saturday night. Hopefully they keep getting good crowds down there. But yeah, I agree. There's a lot of players missing from Old Glory. I could see them going down there and winning, though. They are playing a lot better rugby than they were at the start of the year. Yeah. All right. Another game Saturday night, 8 o'clock. Utah at Houston.
Oh, I think this is Houston. I mean, I think Utah played really well. Is it Zane going? The number 9 looks really useful.
Sid's grandson.
Sid's grandson. Man, what a tough! Like that's a tough rugby lineage to be part of, right? One of the best scrum halves ever to play for the All Blacks. But he looked really useful. But I think the Sabercats have a lot more to play for. Playing at home, so I think I'm going to go with the Sabercats. I think the scrum will be interesting here. I think the scrum might be a dictator in this game. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think I'll go with the home team. 2
things on this game. Pick Lance Williams in the USA team. Second one is Houston will win this game. Much more to play for. I agree with you, Pete. All right, Sunday, Seattle on the road at New York, 3 p.m. Eastern in Hoboken. Big game for both these sides. New York can really go a long way to locking up a playoff spot with a win here. Seattle have to win on the road.
Seattle have to win because they've played an extra game, right? They've played an extra game more than Houston. So
they have a bye after this game. So Houston have.
But New York look good. New York looked good.
They looked a lot better against Toronto, and that's a tough road trip. I think people underestimate that road trip, but I thought New York was good. And listen to this for a potential back three for New York this weekend. Ed Fido on one wing, Wasaki Nahalo on the other, Nini Milner-Skudder at the back.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that's terrifying.
I mean, they're not going to kick.
Oh, no. And if I'm Milner-Skudder, I'm just basically saying, hey, Weiss, turn, you go, crash, and I'll just follow you. And once you get those giant hands free, boom, offload. I think Seattle also looking good down the road. I think this is a great game. I mean, I think this might be the game of the weekend. I think this and ATL New England. Although I kind of suspect, and like I said, I think ATL lost a little bit of their physicality, but I kind of suspect that New England might win that game a little bit going away. I don't think either of these teams are going to win going away. And so I think it's going to be, really close. But I think the home team is a long road trip for Seattle. So I think the home team with some of their reinforcements, I think it's good. I mean, I guess we'll find out on the trade deadline if anyone's really like grabbing anyone from the teams that are out of it to help them close, right? That would be the... I was going to say, if we could have done like our dream trades. Who would you trade for right now?
And who would you get from a team that's out of it? I mean, Lance Williams, you just talked about him.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking of like need. So if San Diego to make a run, they need a 9. So who's a good 9 that's not going to be featuring the play? Like Danny Tusitala?
Yeah.
Can you get him on a loan to San Diego to finish the year out?
Yeah.
Can you get a JP Duplessis out of there from NOLA somewhere? Yeah, I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting. Like if Stats Boy wasn't so consumed with like doing the trades while we're doing this call, he might have even thought about that as a segment, which would have been a really interesting segment to go through and say the team's still in contention. Who would call it up? So.
Yeah, he's actually doing what we're talking about for real, though. So let's see.
He's actually
it
doing
would
what
have
we're
been
talking
a great segment, but I'm in the middle of like processing 3 or 4 of these. It's a wild night. I don't think I'll be going to bed. And that's
what does the trade rhyme with? What does the player's name rhyme with?
I mean, it's also the signing deadline. So
just moved to Dallas.
I'm not going to get fired.
You just moved to Dallas.
Sorry.
Ben Power is a bad influence. We heard with like Mark O'Keefe, he got him in trouble. He asked these questions. Don't answer it. It's okay. We'll find out later, like everyone else, when it's posted on social media by the American Rugby News. That's how we will find out the breaking.
Good call. New York or Seattle?
Ray posts it, and that's how we find out what's happening.
New York, Seattle. Who are you going for?
I'm going for New York.
Me too. All right, last one. LA at San Diego. Legion season on the line here. LA, well, they've got a chance to get within 1 of Austin with a bonus point win here. Hard to look past LA here, Pete.
It is. I kind of want San Diego to win just to keep this race going. Like if San Diego wins, it just keeps the craziness. If San Diego loses, then they're out, right? Because they've also played 13. LA have played 12. The Sabercats have played 12. But I think the Giltinis, they've Harrison Goddard playing 10. Not sure that they're going to score many points. A very good rugby player, but that would be the concern that I have. Is I don't know that the Giltinis have a 10 that they can score points with. And if their lineout's not working, then, San Diego can score points. So, I don't know. San Diego are desperate. I mean, this is a bit of a lineup game, but I'm gonna, we've been pretty square with our selection so far, going with the favorites, and I'm gonna call San Diego for the upset here. I'm gonna say the Giltinis can't get their lineout going, struggle to score points, open up the game. Legion can. They've got the weapons, and maybe a defining game for Marnonu, who's been okay but not great this year.
Interesting. Okay, I'll go LA.
Yeah. This is why I'm like number 56 on like Super Brew, because I'm like, it could happen. Wouldn't it be great if it's happened? I'm going to pick it because I want it to happen, but it's not actually rational.
You sound like me every time Powerball hits 500 million, and I'll be like, $20, quick pick, and then I get in the car and I'm like, yeah, this could happen. I could win. And then I do the math, like, well, I'd have to pay the government back 40 something, whatever the highest bracket is, 40 something percent. Okay, so I pay that back. So now I'm at 212 million. Well, what would I do first? And that's like you on Super Brew. You're like, San Diego will win, and Seattle, they could win on the road, and Dallas need to win, so they'll pick Dallas. I do love that the margin pick in the Dallas game, there was nobody within 50 points of the thing. It was like, I thought I was being, I'm like, I'll go 19 points. Just that's a little extravagant, but why not? And then it was 67 points, the difference, which no one picked. Oh well. All right. We had two games. I think it's fair to say there's two games of the week, Atlanta and New England. That'll be a cracker Friday night. And then you'll have to stay up for the Sunday afternoon game in New York as well. That'll be a good game. I'm excited for those. I'm excited for the playoffs. It's going to be a good race.
I mean, these are all, these all, like, what's really cool right now is that these all have playoff implications, right? And so the great thing now is that, like, depending on what New England Atlanta goes, you're like, what does that mean about the Seattle New York game? And like, we're now, it's good, and we need to get whoever the number one on the Super Brew is, Stats Boy, the first round of the playoffs, to have them come in and do their predictions with us.
You can have number 7 on if you want. He's right here. This guy, number 7.
If you just want to go,
I forgot to pick 3 games this last week.
I know, I do that all the time. but Dan, if you just want to pick favorites the whole time and be 7th and like live that boring life, then you can pick that. If you want to live on the edge and like have the vision of a better world, then you live my life and you're 54.
You're Keanu Reeves in the Matrix, and I'm Neo out of the Matrix. I live in reality, and you just live in your fantasy world. I actually watched the most recent one on a flight recently. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, no.
Was better than I anticipated. Just I'm like, rehashed. If you're stuck on a plane for 3.5 hours,
I've been stuck on a plane. I have already made the top status of my airline this year. I can't say what it is because it's not a MLR stuff.
Yeah, that's all right.
Already made it, which is a signal that you're traveling too much.
Yes, I've actually dialed it way back. I'm actually enjoying my time at home. King Richard, though, if you get a chance to watch it, if you've got kids and you want to feel like a horrible parent, go watch King Richard, because what that guy did for his daughter is incredible. I'm sitting on the plane going, man, I have to up my game with what I do with my kids, because he's literally.
You mean the old like, okay, fine, have the iPad, just leave me alone? Isn't good parenting?
Can we go play catch? Yeah, catch this iPad. See you in 2 hours. Yeah, no. Yes, yeah, that's right. Oh, Ryan Ginty, just probably the quote of the year from Will Smith. Did a great job in the movie. Not so much accepting the award, but we won't go into that one. All right, Pete, that wraps it up. Another show in the books. We'll catch up next week, and we'll be able to break all these games down, have a much clearer picture of the playoffs, and just get some more exciting guests on like that. It's good to have two on the show like that. That was kind of fun. Anything else? Last thoughts? Final thoughts?
Last thoughts. I'm traveling next week. We'll see if we can get the schedule. I'll be on the East Coast. It just makes it for a late night for me. But no, looking forward to the games this weekend. Walking around with my iPad while my wife gives me the dirty eye. That's kind of how my MLR weekends go. But yeah, very much looking forward to the weekend. Some really good games, and excited about the playoffs.
Good man. All right, for the Professor, Pete Steinberg, Aaron Castro, Ryan Ginty, our entire crew here at MLR Kickoff, I'm Dan Power, and we will catch you next time.